Hello everybody, the Networkberg here. Hope you're doing well. Today we'll be discussing something very exciting and very new in the networking world, and this is network automation. I'm not sure if you've noticed the new Cisco certifications, and development actually plays a huge role in that study path. There is a whole section just made for developers. Just one thing that I want to get out of the way, and this is according to Cisco as well. Cisco is not trying to convert you as a network engineer to become a software engineer. Cisco is just giving you more tools in order to succeed at your job and to do a lot better. So a lot of people are misunderstanding the concept and they think, okay, no, I'm going to become a software engineer now. Cisco wants me to learn programming. It's not about that. It's about ways to improve our jobs so that we can work smarter, and it'll allow us as people to focus on more important tasks, things that need a person to think of, not a computer. Before we dive more into the video, I just want to encourage you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I do push out as much content as I can, as new content. I at least try and bring out 3 videos a week. So if you don't mind subscribing and liking the video and sharing it, it would mean the world to me, as it does help grow this channel. Without further ado though, let's jump into GNS3. And this is the first video. I'm going to keep it as short as possible. I'm going to make this a playlist with a bunch of videos for you to go over. In this first video, we will just be focusing on creating a topology. So we won't be actually doing any of the scripting or anything yet, but we will be creating a topology. One thing to take note of with the network automation processes is we will be using Python as a language to create our scripts and to do what we need to do in the network automation world. So in GNS3, there's actually a pretty powerful, you'll see it's called the network automation host. If you haven't brought this in yet, like I haven't on this computer, you can just drag and drop and GNS will quickly help us download this. Okay, let's bring it in. So think of the network automation host just as a box, a Linux box. You see it's downloading all the kinds of packages now, and this box is there just to run Python for us, so that we can run our scripts and do the things that we want to do on the network. While this download is finishing, I just want to help you understand why programming is important. Well, it's not so much about the why, it's the uses for it. So if you recall, I mentioned working smarter. Think about it. If you are a ISP, or maybe you set up a lot of different routers for a lot of different customers, I can promise you a lot of those times the routers will have a base configuration. This configuration will consist of things such as some VLANs, maybe a VLAN for data, a VLAN for your voice, maybe some VLANs running to your WAN interfaces as well, where you've created private circuits for different things. It's got a username, it's got a password, it's got an enable password, things like that. It's very basic, but it can be time consuming for you as a person to have to go to each and every router and configure it from scratch. So network automation helps us with that, because you could ideally make almost the perfect configuration, just adjust some of the base values in your script, and you could roll out a perfect configuration every time within a mere minutes, so that you don't have to spend more time than is needed to create or set up your routers or your switches or even your firewalls. You can use network automation anywhere really, and it's really powerful and it will help you in the future. Okay, I see our network automation box has downloaded. I'm going to start up the box along just to show you the UI. It is CLI, so we're not going to be working on any type of GUI here. So it's not like you're logging into a Windows server. We're literally just going to jump onto a Linux box, and we're going to be running some Linux commands, but it's very easy to learn, and you'll see it's not going to be so much a struggle. I'm just going to make the screen a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're in the network automation box now. So I want to give this box an IP address as well, and I want to put it on a network, because currently this box only has an IPv6 address, and it's a local host address that we can see here. So let's give this box internet access quickly, and we can do that by just bringing in a switch. Going to bring in the Cisco switch quickly, and we can create a NAT cloud as well. So let's just find the NAT cloud. Let's bring that in. So this NAT cloud will basically be giving us internet access for this Linux box, which is going to be running our Python 3. Python 3 is already installed on the box. There is Python 2 as well, but we will not be diving into that because more people are fading from that scene. More people are jumping onto the Python 3 train. So you'll find a lot more support and people willing to help you on Python 3. Not that I'm saying you can't use Python 2, but why not use the latest version, the best version possible, just to help you. Okay, let's just quickly see. This box will not have an address yet because I still need to actually allow DHCP. So just take note of this as well. And if you have GNS3, please follow along. I do have a whole section on my blog covering how to install GNS3 so that you can run similar labs yourself as well. If you don't know how, I'll post a link in the description. Okay, so in order to get DHCP working, we actually need to edit the networks file in the Linux box. So let's just quickly do a nano. It's a little editor, like a text editor you can think of. And let's go into etc. It's network interfaces, plural interfaces. This brings us into the configuration file where the IP addresses for this box is being assigned. So we will be editing a specific line. You see this cursor, well, not a cursor, but where I can actually edit and do things. There's two lines that we want to configure, and that is auto ETH0 and iFace ETH iNet DHCP. This will just allow our interface to get an IP address via DHCP. So to allow this, because the configuration is already there, we can just remove this hash. Like with programming and Linux, if you hash out a line, it becomes non-applicable. It doesn't run it. Think of it as a text line. But if you remove the hash, now it is actual code, but we're not in code yet. This is just some DHCP configuration. I'm just explaining. But we can save this by pressing Control O, hit enter because that says file name that you want to save. Yes, we want to save that, and we can exit. So if I do an ifconfig now, it still probably doesn't take an IP address yet. We just need to restart the box. So let's do that quickly. Stop. Start. Okay, let's reconnect to the box. Still busy starting up. The sending discovers the DHCP broadcast it's sending, saying, hey, anybody have an IP for me? And now it's gotten an IP address in this range. So 140 is the box. I should have internet access because of the NAT cloud. Yes, I do have internet access. So I could potentially just make sure that everything is up to date on this box by running something they call an apt get update. Hit enter. So now it's just updating all of the packages on this Linux box, making sure that there's nothing legacy. So while these updates are running, let's just quickly drop in a couple of network devices, Cisco devices that we can configure. I'm going to keep it small for this beginner lecture. Later on we will bring in more devices and we'll be doing bigger code and such. But for this, let's just specifically be bringing in a Cisco router and another Cisco switch. So this will actually be switch 2. Let's bring in a Cisco router. Let's call this R1. Now, very important to note, whenever you are trying to run network automation, you will need to be able to access the device, obviously. So if you can't get your devices, you can't really run the automation, because you're going to need an IP address that you will be able to run your program or your management port off of. In this beginning examples, we will be using Telnet. So you'll obviously need to have Telnet open in order to Telnet to the device. And then the device needs an IP address on the port you're going to be coming into. And then we need a username and password and an enable password. So those are important things just to take note of. I'm going to start up these Cisco devices. Let's quickly see, is my Linux box ready? Okay, it's still busy. Still downloading. Okay, it looks like it's actually going to be taking a while. That's fine, that's alright, it's not the end of the world. It takes time to update your packages. It's just good practice to make sure that you do have the latest and greatest updates, like you would with your operating system at your house. So it's fine while that's happening. Let's just label our interfaces, see where everything's going quickly, and we can apply base configurations to the Cisco router and the Cisco switch quickly. So I'm going to hop onto the switch, and I'm going to assign those things that I said that we will need to connect. Let's enable the switch, config T. I'm not going to be applying the IP address to a interface on the switch. I'll be applying it to the VLAN, VLAN1, so it can work on both ports or both sides. So int VLAN1 IP address, it needs to be in the same range for us in this case, 192.168.122 dot. Let's make this 51, and the subnet mask is going to be /24, and we need to unshut our interface. VLANs by default are shut when you create them on the switch. Show IP int brief. Okay, we see we've got a VLAN1 there with an IP address. Let's just jump back onto this network automation. So 140 was the network automation box. Let's just see if we can get there. 122 dot, what was that? 140. We should be able to get there. Okay, it's fine. We'll figure that out in a minute. Let's just finish up the rest of the configuration. So I said we need a management IP, that we have. I said we need to have Telnet enabled. So let's do that quickly. Line VTY 0 to 4. Let's say the login is going to be local, because we're going to define a username and password. And let's say transport input. Let's use Telnet in this case. We will add SSH and other protocols later on. Let's just do Telnet for now. Let's go one back. So we have Telnet enabled. Now we still need a username and password. So let's say username. Let's call this, well, I'm going to call it the network Berg. And my password, let's just make it Cisco. It's always best practice to make sure your network is as secure as possible and not using clear text stuff like this. I'm just doing this as an example to show you how to set up a base lab quickly so that you can get to automating your network ASAP. Okay, same thing, enable, password, same thing, Cisco. So now we have a username and password to log into the switch. We have an enable password. We can telnet to the switch. The switch has a management IP. So those are the very base important things that the switch needs. I'm going to save this config. And let's quickly see if I can get back into the network automation box. Okay, so this is still busy processing. Let's just see, 122.140, 122.51. Okay, let's quickly configure the router as well. Wait, let's do one more thing. Just to give it a name. It doesn't do anything, it's just a host name. It's just for our own memory. Wait, this was actually switch 2. Okay, thank you. Now, I'm going to quickly just get Notepad++, because I use this for my editing and stuff. Let's just see. Okay, so I'm just going to be using Notepad++ in order to do my own like coding or get my configs ready. So I'm just going to take some stuff from the Cisco switch, which we can quickly also just copy into the Cisco router while our network automation box is still updating. So I said the important things that I want out of this configuration is I want an enable password and a username. Okay, great. I know that I want to have an IP address for management, but on the router it's going to go into the interface, not the VLAN. And I needed my telnet port enabled, and I specified that the login is local so that we can use a username and password to log in there. Okay, that looks right. I'm just going to update this little bit of text here. Let's make this GI00. Let's make this IP address 61. Okay, that looks fine. So let's jump onto the router. Hello router. Config T. Let's paste that in. Okay, perfect. So now we have a router in the topology as well. So let's quickly see, can we get to the switch from the router? We should be able to get there. There's VLAN 1, so it is there. Oh, the router's interface is still shut, that's why I can't ping it. Let me just quickly bring that up. Config T int GI00. No shut. Just remember, a router's interface, similar to the VLANs on the switch, is shut by default. Let's quickly see if we can ping it. Ping. Great, okay, so I can get to my switch from the router, and my network automation box is done as well. Okay. I'm trying to issue a Cisco command on a Linux box, not going to work. Let's just do a ping 192.168.122. Can I get to myself? Yes. Can I get to the router? Yes, I can get to the router. So I should be able to get to the switch. Okay, great. It's just because of that update earlier that I couldn't ping the box. So we now have a switch with a management IP, a router with a management IP, and the network automation box. This topology is ready. I'm going to stop the video here, and we'll continue in the next video with actually creating some scripts to do some automation processes. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I do encourage you to join the channel, subscribe, and reshare this video. I will be going as in-depth as I can with this. Thanks again for watching.